Haven't talked a ton about the Lakers yet. Haven't talked a ton about the Wolves yet. Both teams missing their best player, or in the Lakers' case, their best players. Doesn't seem to matter to Austin Reaves right now.
Sure doesn't. Sure does not, Nekias. He's having a great time. Austin Reaves is having a blast.
Yeah, he's having a blast. Electric into that game with an Austin Reaves game winner. Actually, let's table it right there, Steve. Let's start with Austin Reaves. What do you make of the start of this season for him?
I think it's been a really good start for Austin Reaves as far as having growing confidence and growing comfort offensively. It's not that he has not had the talent. It's interesting because JJ Redick was like, hey, man, in the offseason, we heard the reporting, hey, you're out of excuses, bud. It's time. And he's responded in a way that showcases, okay, I could do a lot more. Now, obviously, with Luka out, with LeBron out, Austin Reaves is put into more of a position as a playmaker, ball in his hands more responsible for what the Lakers do. But I like that he is now understanding and reading defenses more. And we talked about the drives that he's had this season, putting himself in a different position as far as getting into the paint, putting his head down, getting to the free throw line. That's important. But now you're seeing the overall mindset in pick and roll. You can see how he handles drop coverage. So when he gets that screen, Nekias, and that big is back, he has that understanding of how to dribble into that space, how to engage that defensive big, and he's just making more reads. So if he sees a defender on the weak side of the court opposite, they come and help on the roll, he's firing those skip passes. So I think one of the most impressive things from that Lakers-Wolves game was just the passes Austin Reaves was looking to make and consistently trying to make. And so we're seeing more of an effort from Austin Reaves with no Luka, with no LeBron, to be patient in pick and roll as well. So if someone like DeAndre Ayton or someone's coming to screen for him, he is understanding, okay, I have time and space to make sure I set my man up to come off the screen. So if I don't get the first one, I can get a rescreen, get a second one, and I can get downhill and make the right reads and make the right plays. And I think the other interesting part here is the better he plays, the more you can put him in movement. Like, we always look at the Lakers offense, and with Luka and LeBron, we know how teams are going to guard them. We know that teams are going to lock in. It's going to open things up. You can put them in movement. How much do you want to put them in movement? How often can you get to it? How quick is it?
Yeah.
Austin Reaves, you can put in movement sets.
He flies around.
And you can get a lot of zip out of that in tempo. I think we saw that against the Wolves as far as being able to get dribble handoffs, play through their elbow actions, and have him involved. I think that's a big key. The other interesting part is the DeAndre Ayton of it all. Yes, I said DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah. I
think DeAndre Ayton's a really good pick and roll partner specifically for Austin Reaves because of the pace that he plays with. I think when it comes to DeAndre Ayton, and overall when we think about pick and roll, right, we think about bigs rolling deep into the paint. We think about, the word lob threat gets thrown around. Ayton, if he sets a higher screen on the court, his role is probably taking him towards that free throw line area. Now, that is his sweet spot in his mind, I believe.
And he's been historically good in that area.
So he's nailed those, but now Reaves can probably engage the big and just kind of open that pocket of space and get him that pocket pass. And now it's a quick shot, or the defense overhelps. He can make another play, and that opens things up. So I think that's been just the positive of Austin Reaves so far to start the season.
Yeah, I love that. Just to supplement what you said there, one, on a very basic level, Austin Reaves, as of recording, 34.2 points per game, converting 62% of his twos, 39% of his threes on high volume right now, 90% from the line. He's taking nearly 12 free throw attempts per game. So to your point about him getting downhill, that has certainly been in abundance. I think DeMar DeRozan is still upset with the Austin Reaves game against the Sacramento Kings. But supplementing that, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the only player that has logged more drives than Austin Reaves. The Lakers generating over 1.2 points per possession on any trip featuring an Austin Reaves drive. So that's him getting downhill. That's him getting to the free throw line. That is part of him making those driving kicks, whether it's in pick and roll or not. And to your pick and roll point, Steve, this Reaves-Ayton tandem has been very good. They are also the only pick and roll duo in the league that's run at least 100 so far this year. It's been an incredibly high volume bit so far, over 1.1 points per possession on those trips as well. And I'm glad that you brought up Ayton as a concept, but also his partnership with Austin Reaves in particular, because I think after that first game against the Warriors, Laker fan base not very pleased with DeAndre Ayton. I think we can leave it there. But as part of Ayton's post-game comments and stuff, I think someone asked him about him in pick and roll in particular, and he said, I feel like I'm kind of a weird paraphrasing, kind of a weird pick and roll partner for folks, and it's going to take some time for all of us to gel. And so the fact that he has his own kind of pacing with his roles and where he wants to get to, and Austin Reaves can rev up or rev down in just the herky jerkiness of his game. It's not quite like the Luka speed, but it's a similar cadence in that degree. It makes sense that those two have gelled to the degree that they have. And so the fact that the Lakers are able to, as you mentioned, get to some of the movement stuff with Austin Reaves, and you can still default to let's go high pick and roll, and they have that combined comfort there, it gives the Lakers probably a higher floor than people expected without Luka and without LeBron, with those guys on the floor. So it's been cool watching them build that out. And then when you look at that Wolves game and you get some complimentary shooting from Jake LaRavia and others, it greases the wheels of the offense a little bit. And I think as we talked about their defense after that Warriors game, very basic point, but if you are making more shots, you have a better opportunity and you have more opportunity to actually set up your defense and give yourself more of a chance to get the stops that you need to then get out and flow into early offense and transition to things of that nature. So saw a good little bit of that in that Wolves game. So I appreciated that. Can we flip to the Wolves? Did you have something else on the Lakers? I don't want to.
Well, before we flip to the Wolves, I think the other thing, since you mentioned some of the other players for the Lakers, one thing you're seeing is more aggression from them looking to drive the basketball, 1-2 dribbles, drive closeouts, which is obviously going to be a key part once everyone comes back, because they're going to face rotating defenses. So can you make some makes? Can you drive closeouts, get in the paint, keep the advantage for the Lakers? I think that's key. And then the other thing to keep an eye on is with everyone out, hey, guys got to play. Guys know they're going to play. And this is an opportunity for Coach Redick to just continue to preach the little things to build this foundation on top of the star power they have. So that's where I'm intrigued with where the Lakers go. It's the Western Conference, so you got to mix in as many wins as you can. And I think some nights it's going to look like it did against Minnesota. Some nights it might look like it did against Portland. You never know in the NBA, but that's where we're at.
That is where we're at, indeed. And so naturally, the Wolves on the other side of that loss. And again, a team that we haven't talked about in depth yet. And this has been an interesting start to the season for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, no Anthony Edwards for the last 2 games. And so in addition to a small early season sample, there's also just a little bit of grace that I'm giving when the Wolves are just missing their best guy. But with that, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, the tough part is Anthony Edwards was on a mission to start this season.
Yeah.
The guy was on demon time as far as I'm just going to look to score and attack in every single possible way. And getting him mixing in post-ups, the footwork he had, the ball handling he was displaying, he was cooking. And so they were on the horizon of being spoken about by us. And we're doing it, but not the way we thought we would.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think to the offense of it all, it has felt more spread the wealth than I anticipated. Because once we got the Anthony Edwards notification, my first thought was, okay, cool. This is just about to be a lot more Julius Randle. Naturally, everyone else is going to get touches. But I'm anticipating this is about to be kind of similar to the Pascal Siakam usage in Indiana. Okay, he can run some pick and rolls. You can get it to him in the mid post. There's just going to be more funneled through him. And he has gotten a little bit more, but it hasn't been to an aggressive degree. It's been a lot more Jaden McDaniels. I have enjoyed the offensive growth than just the handles better. You talked about this recently, but the handle seems better and tighter. So he's mixing in more of those mid-range pull-ups. He's getting downhill a little bit more. And so that part's been cool. But it does feel like I don't think the same flow is there in the half court, which makes sense when you're missing the son of your offense in Anthony Edwards. But as aggressive as Jaden McDaniels has been, he's not drawing 2 to the ball to the same degree that Anthony Edwards would be. With Julius Randle, those possessions are generally going to be slower than what your Anthony Edwards possessions would be. And so I think there's a little bit of herky-jerkiness there and just an overall zooming out of who exactly is initiating for this offense and how do we want to go about that. That's where I've been intrigued with the Mike Conley of it all, the Rob Dillingham of it all, which I guess we're just not seeing them. I don't know. The Bones Hyland of it all, who's going to pop in the guard room? What does the Dante DiVincenzo initiation look like in this context? And how do I grade that? That's all kind of been circling in my head with this offense. And so again, it's just kind of felt weird. And I think with this context, that's when you want to lean more on your defense to get stops, force turnovers, be able to flow and transition a little bit more. But the Wolves defense has not been very good. And that's where my concerns start to set in. It's very early, so again, not necessarily pressing the red button, But I'll pause it there. I want to get you in here, but I do have some thoughts about this defense.
Now, hold on. Before we get to the defense, let's address this first part.
Okay.
The number one thing I want to say is I need y'all to put some respect on Julius Randle's name. All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. There's been a lot of Julius Randle. Oh, my God, bro. Buddy's shooting 54% from the field.
He's been good.
From 3, averaging 26, 6, and 5. Like, can we just give him a little bit of credit? Can we give him a little bit of space? Number 2, and this is going to address the Wolves, but it's also going to address insert team here where you're confused by their start. So just stick with me, and then we'll bring it on back.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times early in the regular season, right, you are trying to do different things. You are trying to become a different version of your team. You're trying to be the best version. You're combining what you know works for your team with what you want to add to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to deal with what you are at the moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about the Miami Heat, we talk about Eric Spoelstra. We always talk about how he gets the most out of his team. You can't always copy and paste what you've done in the past, even though you know there are things that work.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't always rely on everything working at the same time. So if you're looking at Minnesota, yeah, we've got an aggressive Jaden McDaniels. That helps us because Anthony Edwards is doing this and Julius Randle is doing that. And so if we have that blend, we feel a lot better offensively.
Mm-hmm.
You have the curveball of, hey, Mike Conley off the bench now. So now Dante DiVincenzo, you're in, makes sense with that lineup. Anthony Edwards now out. Okay, what do we have?
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of taking something out of it and trying to move it around. So now what is Mike Conley's effectiveness off the bench? That's a tough role for him. You know, been in the league forever. Shout out to Mike Conley, but now it's like, hey, when am I going to play?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to I start and maybe I get shorter stints, but what's going on? And then you have to remember each team has some version of a winning formula. And part of the regular season, or at least the start, this is where you're kind of experimenting. This is where you're trimming down your rotation. This is where you're getting a firmer understanding of what your team is.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, this is a long regular season. So I understand concerns or panic or however you feel about your team, but this is not the end of the road. This is the start of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
You get an understanding of, ooh, we can't afford this. So if you're a Wolves coach, hey, our defense cannot be this. This is not new. We had the same conversation last year about Minnesota.
Yep.
For them to hit a high level, their defense has to hit at a high enough level. And so the combination of their defense being X and their offense being Y is always going to land them in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to get that off because I think it applies to a lot more teams and a lot more fan bases than they realize. Now, to your defensive concerns.
Yeah, I think, one, that's just really good stuff. And I think to your general point about the experimentation and trying to establish what your formula is and, you know, even broadening the scope, how many ways can you win? Because I think the best teams in the league generally have multiple avenues to be able to pull that off. It is going to take a little time. And when you have early wrenches thrown in, you have to adjust more than you would like, and we see who steps up, et cetera. So I think patience naturally is needed as teams are trying to sort this thing out. We're a week in. We're 9 days in, 10 days in. So we can talk about what we're seeing, but it doesn't mean this is the end of the world. To the defense, though. Boy, have I not liked a lot of it. Can I start with a stat that may pop you, Steve?
Let's go.
So as of recording, there have been 48 players that have defended at least pick and rolls as the screener defender. Big in the action, whatever. Among those 48 players, in terms of points per possession allowed on those trips, Rudy Gobert is 40th. Julius Randle is 47th. Naz Reid is 48th. That does not mean that is literally just all of their fault. Like, screen navigation matters, help defense matters. This is an all-encompassing number, so it's not always just the guy pulling up out of pick roll or whatever. It's the whole thing. If your 3 rotation bigs are 40th, 47th, and 48th among a 48-player group, you're not in a good spot. And I think even narrowing down on that portion, I just don't like the shell of this defense right now. It just feels like they are late to everything, which means when they have to rotate, they are also late to getting there. You mix in some 2 players going to 1, kick, shot, oh no, it's happened again. Like, none of this has felt as sturdy as I thought it was going to. Like, I've seen like some Jaden McDaniels rumblings and who he's being asked to guard, etc. And like, I don't think it's entirely unfair, but he is also the best perimeter defender that they have, at least in the starting lineup. I don't mind him taking on tough assignments. I would imagine it is tougher for him to do so while also taking on more offensive ownership. Like he's averaging, as of recording, nearly 19 points per game. It would easily be a career high for him if he keeps this up. And so asking him to take on more ownership, more drives, and then turn around and he's like one of 2 or 3 players on the roster that will actually do like the backcourt pickup on top of that, and then you're factoring in who he's actually being asked to guard, that's a lot. If you are going to have Rudy Gobert closer to the level this year, and he's not getting the job done, that stinks. Because now you're having Jaden dealing with higher pick and rolls. Rudy's at the level and not containing the way that we anticipate him to. And if those are your 2 best guys in the starting lineup and one or both of them are botching something at the point of the screen, who is recovering? Who is cleaning up the mess? It's not Julius right now. It's not Dante right now. Like it's just a weird thing. And again, I don't want to say like this defense is just officially bad, because as you referenced, we talked about Minnesota's defense to start the year last year, and they ultimately ended up being a top 10 unit again. They were much stronger to close out the season, and thus another run for them. But right now, going back to the Laker game specifically, it was just a lot of pick and roll, one dribble. Whoever's supposed to be the initial helper is like coming to the roll instead of already being in position, and the Lakers are just able to play out of that. Helps that Jake LaRavia made just about everything in those situations, but like it can't be that. It can't be that.
Well, I'm gonna raise my hand here real quick.
Okay.
And I know the Minnesota of it all, but I do think that if you look at how long training camp is these days, how condensed the preseason is, and how much players are playing during that, and now you have the start of the regular season, you end up in a scenario where, okay, top defense, Oklahoma City Thunder. I think number 2 is the Spurs. We know what they can do defensively. Number 3 is the Chicago Bulls. Number 4 is the Miami Heat. I don't know if I would say that they are defensive stalwarts, no disrespect. So I think right now what you're seeing across the league is a league that is over-helping, over-rotating, opening up plays for offenses. And on any given night, you can look really good defensively, or you can look like you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think overall, we got to watch and see how these defenses grow. And I think you can't bake in that defense is going to bring you to the table. Don't ask me how I know. But if you can't bake in that your defense is going to automatically play at a high level, you have to preach the habits, you have to build the base, and you have to do it every single night. And so I think there's a lot of teams that are looking at their early start and saying, hey, our defense is exactly where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
The funniest part is, like, Houston has the defensive identity, has had the defensive effort, and they've just scored a lot. So it's just like, it's all over the place.
Yeah. It's just very weird. And so, like, even to the Jaden McDaniels of it all, just very quickly, getting hit on more screens this year than last year. Contact rate about 65% last year, up to 79% this year. The average pick and roll distance that he's defending this year is around 29 feet. That was at 27.8 last year. And so just those margins matter for, again, a guy that is already generally defending smaller players than him, because at 6'9", 6'10", he isn't supposed to be able to navigate screens as well as he generally does. But like now you're just sprinkling in more the random half court stuff when they're trying to pressure, and it's just a lot of space for ball handlers. And if the help defense isn't keyed in, factor in some of the, the activity and the overhelp, as you mentioned, it just leads to swings. And I would like to see the screws tightened on that end for Minnesota. I think ultimately it will be, especially as they get healthier. But just as of right now, it's worth noting, hey, this isn't what it needs to look like. Chris Finch has talked about it. This morning I was watching a post-game video of Julius Randle. It's like, hey, what do you think is stopping y'all for bottling what y'all did in the fourth quarter of that game, pre-Austin Reaves game winner, and doing that the whole game? But Julius Randle's like, hey, man, I don't know. Like, Chris Finch talks about it. He preaches about it before games, et cetera, et cetera. It's just up to the players to execute.